And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. That is right, it is time once again for Coffee Talk, where we will be having a discussion about what is going on in the world today, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. And of course, you are listening to and/or watching at Coffee Talk Live or at Prepper University on YouTube, simultaneously broadcasting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, as well as at Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter, and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. And of course, today is March 11th, Thursday, March 11th. Just in case you were wondering, just in case it matters at all, as we get ready to dive into what is going on in the world today. And of course, I will read through as many of the comments as is reasonable for those of you who are listening and not able to see what is going on so that you can keep up with the conversation. And I'll acknowledge some of the people that have chimed in thus far. I see Donna is here reminding people, thumbs up, like, and share. Yes, please do if you don't mind. It may not help with the algorithm, but I sure appreciate it. Helter is here. Ragnar is here. Dragon, Monkey. Who else have we got? As we try to catch up here, Sven, Gary Smith, Brian is here. Yeah, founder of Coffee Talk. That's me. I want a nickel every time somebody says it. And Rodney is here. And Rodney made a donation. Thank you, Rodney, for dropping something to the channel. Very much appreciated. I'll take all the help I can get, and I won't be shady about it either. So thank you, Rodney. As we get ready to jump into what is going on in the world today. Are you ready for Cicada-geddon? It's Cicada-geddon, everybody. That's right. The cicadas are going to be coming out. And of course, The View, or somebody on The View, tried to blame it on climate change, as you saw in one of the articles from yesterday. Oh, climate change. So the cicadas. Yeah, the cicadas come out all the time. It's a pretty regular thing. You know when you worry? When they don't show up. When the cicadas don't come, when there aren't like 80 billion of them, when the cicadas are supposed to emerge from hibernation, that's when you worry. Like with the monarch butterfly, which you never hear anything about anymore. You know, the monarch butterflies are practically extinct now. They migrate across the United States, all across North America, to go to two locations, one in Mexico and one in California, for mating season. And every year there's less and less of them. There used to be like hundreds of millions of them, and now there's like a couple 100,000 or less. That's frightening. That's frightening. And it's not because of climate change. It's because the landscape has changed. The thing that's killing the monarch butterflies and all butterflies and bees, because that's a big issue too, just sidetracking for a minute to make a point, which we need these pollinators for the existence of our planet, quite frankly. What's killing them is roads and lawns. A manicured lawn with grass is like a desert to a pollinator. They'll die. There's nothing for them to eat. It's terrible for the insect world, the condition of the modern lawn with hedges and grass. That's not what they need. And if one of the kingdoms dies off, in this case the insect kingdom, it'll affect all the other kingdoms, including us, especially us. I see Dilo is here. And Gary Smith said there were lots of monarchs back when they lived in Ontario. And Rodney says the collapse of insect populations is frightening. Yeah, because it'll affect the entire, if one entire grouping of insects were to die off, it could affect the entire ecosystem. It's detrimental to the ecosystem. There's a balance that's there. So yeah, worry when the cicadas don't show up. When they don't come, that's when you should start biting your nails. I hope there's a billion of them. I hope there's 100 billion of them. The more the merrier, the more the better, quite frankly. But yeah, that's the reason why, by the way, you see a decrease in the population of bees, wasps, and hornets, which are actually beneficial to the insect kingdom as well. They're a nuisance to us, but they serve a purpose. Butterflies, all of those types of pollinating insects and creatures, they have a very important purpose in the world, and we're destroying them. We're destroying them with manicured lawns and highways, quite frankly. Sven says barium and aluminum are bad for them as well. Not sure how they would get exposed to that because it leaks out and everything. Also, and I've done shorts on it too, complaining about the practice out here in Georgia where they spray the sides of the roads to kill mosquitoes and fleas and ticks, but it kills everything. The grass is dead for 10 feet in. Everything is killed there, and that's dangerous for the entire environment. Gary Smith said, sound like Silent Spring is maybe coming true. And then Donna says, they don't like the sound. I remember that when I was a kid. Oh, the cicadas, that high-pitched squeal when they all get together. Yeah. But, and of course, Brian likes honey. Well, most people do, unless you're vegan and you're afraid of honey. You can't use honey because it exploits the bees. Which is bullshit, because if you have a hive, okay, I know, another bunny trail, but why not? If you have a beehive, because my wife and I have considered getting a hive, so we've looked into this. They overproduce by about 60% or more of what they actually need to survive for the particular hive. So the one nest of bees needs 40% or less of what they actually produce, because in nature they anticipate wild animals are going to steal from them. So they make way more than they need to. So as long as you have a cooperative with the bees, I believe in cooperatives with animals. I'll protect you. I provide you the hive. I provide you the patch of wildflowers. I'll take your overflow and I'll leave the rest. Cooperation with nature. So it's not exploiting the bees if they're getting something from you. Vegans, just saying. Anyways, the big story of the day, if you haven't seen it yet, and one more here. Rodney says, sadly, local bylaws in New Zealand can make it very difficult or impossible to do urban beekeeping. Yeah. And Monkey said they heard wasps have the ability to pollinate, but it's a very few that can do so. Certain breeds of wasps, if I remember correctly, also make their own type of honey. So yeah, they can be pollinators. Here's your big news story of the day. You may have heard this already. That's right. O.J. Simpson is no longer with us. And this is a Guardian article, The Guardian. O.J. Simpson, ex-NFL star, who was acquitted of murder. Yeah, he did nothing else but get acquitted for murder, right? Dies at age 76. Former American football player who was acquitted of murder in 1995 died of cancer, according to statements from his family. O.J. Simpson, the former American football star, actor, and notorious suspected double murderer, has died of cancer at 76. His 85 trial and controversial acquittal for the deaths of his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ronald Goldman provided one of the world's most watched popular culture events of the last century. Simpson's death was announced on X, formerly Twitter, in a simple message from his family. On April 10th, that's yesterday, our father, Orenthal James Simpson, succumbed to his battle with cancer. He was surrounded by his children and grandchildren during this time of transition. His family asks that you please respect their wishes for privacy and grace, which they will not get because the entire net is flooded with memes making fun of him being dead. Just saying. A statement from the Pro Football Hall of Fame said Simpson, who died in Las Vegas, has been receiving chemotherapy for prostate cancer, which it said he made public 2 months ago. David Cook, an attorney for Goldman's family, said on Thursday in a brief statement that Simpson died without penance. Well, you don't know that. One of the most successful and popular sports stars of his generation, Simpson's career with the San Francisco 49ers and Buffalo Bills, as well as his post-retirement starring roles in Hollywood movies such as The Naked Gun, was ultimately overshadowed by the 94 murders and their aftermath. And of course, I do remember this. I grew up during this generation. I remember the slow speed chase, him driving in his Ford Bronco at like 2 miles an hour with a pistol to his head while 30 police cars followed him on the highway, going to his mother's house because he was freaking out. He was freaked out that he was being arrested or whatever, or that he was being charged. I did not watch the trial, and I did not watch the verdict. I remember when the verdict came down because I was actually working for Bradley's at the time. And for those of you who are not familiar with what Bradley's was, it was a department store chain, had about 135 stores on the East Coast, very similar to Kmart. And they've gone bankrupt and shut down by now. There's no more Bradley's. But everybody was in the TV department watching the verdict, and I was doing my job because I didn't give a shit about whether or not he was found guilty or innocent. I didn't care. And Brian says, hell is waiting, ? Maybe, maybe not. And that's the whole thing with O.J. Simpson. And that's why now, and of course, we're in the modern era where people can very conveniently hide behind the anonymity of the internet and say and do whatever the hell they want without any repercussion whatsoever. And make stupid memes all day, which is what's going on now, basically. But the bottom line is, and I often talk about OJ, the reality of it is, whether you like it or not, there is no actual evidence. Nobody actually knows if he's responsible for anything that happened back in 1994. We don't know if he killed Goldman and his ex-wife. We really don't. And people will get upset when you say that, and here they kick open the door of speculation, but there is no proof. He's the only one who could tell you for sure, and now he's dead. Unless he has a manifesto that they find and they read it and it says, yep, I did it. And he may have done it. He may have done it, but nobody actually knows. And the second trial, he was found guilty because they wanted to find him guilty. And that's an example of lawfare. It's not a modern thing. It's been going on for a long time. Anybody who's been to court had to deal with bullshit in court, been screwed over by the legal system, by the so-called justice system, messed around by detectives or police. Yeah, lawfare has been around for a long time. It's been weaponized against the little guy forever. Okay? He's not exactly the little guy, but that's a good example of it in the second trial. They wanted to find him guilty, and they did. And he was persecuted every day of his life up until he died, made fun of, talked about, robbed, because they took all of his property. I remember humiliated a radio station as a stunt at the public auction of his home and property, bought all of his trophies and destroyed them in the parking lot of the radio station, smashed them with tools. And I'm like, all that time that was going on, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, but what if he is innocent? Because nobody can really say for sure. They can speculate it on all they want. And then Helter points it out. He says, OJ wrote a book about how he hypothetically could have killed his ex. Yeah, sure he did. As a way to make money, who knows what he was thinking. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Monkey said that had to be hard to be a child or grandchild around OJ since your father or grandfather is getting memed. No kidding. And Donna remembers OJ and Hertz. Yeah, or Hertz Rent-A-Car. Sven said OJ and Nicole were drug dealers. I think OJ did it, but you play with that stuff, bad things happen. Broke bad without the faculties to handle it. And then Brian says, remember the juror who said they laid the not guilty verdict on OJ as revenge for Rodney King. Really? I don't remember that. I don't remember that. And Urban is here. It says typing on a tiny old iPod today, but still here. Well, glad you could make it, Urban. Joining us from Canada, as well as Zane popping in here. Just talking about O.J. Simpson, who has just passed away. He died yesterday of colon cancer. Colon cancer. And yeah, let the meme wars begin, because people have been picking on him all day since the announcement, putting out all kinds of crazy memes. And I'm just making the point, reality check. He's the only one that really knows if he's guilty or not. Did he do it? Probably. Maybe he did. But nobody really knows. They can only speculate. No matter how much evidence they think they have, they can only speculate. And that's why, again, I refer to him often as a great example of just interpretation versus law when it comes to justice. He's guilty because everybody feels like he is, or they want someone to be guilty. That's why you can't trust a jury. You can't trust them. I don't like the concept of a jury. I talked about it before. I've been on jury duty. It's just people, for the most part, that have been forced to participate, that don't want to be there and can't wait to leave, that make a lot of assumptions with very little knowledge or understanding. It's scary. I would be terrified to be facing a jury. Seriously. It's scary enough dealing with the judge. He could have been pissed off when he came in this morning and just wants to lay into somebody, or has preconceived notions about your type. I don't like guys with beards. You can't trust them. I'm going to burn this guy down. You never know. You never know what's on their minds. And you see a lot of stuff with judges that are just crazy. It's like, how the hell did you keep your job this long? Scary. As we get ready to move into this next one, we're going to go to the migrant industrial complex, maybe, if this works, because it's acting up again. Come on now. Come on, Restream. You maybe maybe can't make it. Come on. Yeah, it's been acting up recently. It was fine last week before. It got choppy a little bit. And then this week it's acting up again. And no idea. And it's just not in the budget to keep buying services. Monkey says Ben Shapiro would say your feelings don't matter, it's the facts that matter, or some quote like that. Yeah, exactly. But then Ben Shapiro fires, what's her name? I can't think. Fires, what's her name, for saying Christ is king, because he thinks that it's anti-Semitic. And it's like, yeah, it's anti-Semitic if you interpret it that way. If you insist on interpreting it that way, it can be anti-Semitic. And maybe to some people it is, but I think to most people it is not meant that way. He took it, thank you, Rodney. He says Candace Owens. I couldn't think of her name. That was taking her term out of context. And Boogers says, sorry that they're late waiting on the DMV to renew the plates. 4 people working and going one at a time. Yeah, they in no hurry. They are in no hurry. And Urban says, sorry for the off topic, still reeling from the unanimous guilty verdict on all counts in the Apple River trial that concluded last hour. Travesty of justice. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. Because I couldn't remember about it. And Delo said they don't want you speaking the truth. I guess not, because ScrewTube loves to kick me in the teeth for some reason. They give me a really hard time. But anyway, back to the next article, News Nation article. It says unprecedented migrant deaths are expected at the border as temperatures rise. Really? Let's make everybody worried about the migrants again. Migrant deaths are on the rise at the southern border as people attempting to enter the U.S. increasingly travel through remote areas already facing high summer temperatures. Tucson Sector Chief Patrol Agent John Modlin says officials are already seeing the highest number of encounters along the border and expect it to get worse. Nothing changes with the level of migration, and we get the 118 to 120 degree days down there. We're likely going to see unprecedented amounts of deaths in the desert, Moldlin said. Representatives from the Tucson Sector Border Patrol area and the Tucson Air and Marine Branch of Homeland Security, along with officials from Mexico and Guatemala, recently held a safety event to discuss the risks migrants are taking. All right. In 2022, Customs and Border Protection documented 171 deaths across different types of incidences. Distress incidences accounted for 55 cases, with 30 of them occurring at ports of entry. All right. When you consider that damn near 2 million people cross the border, 171 isn't that bad. Sorry, the numbers don't lie. Secondly, you don't know that there's an increase in deaths. You anticipate it, and you're anticipating it because you want more money. That's all you're doing. You're trying to get more funding. Thirdly, most of these people are coming from countries that are a hell of a lot hotter than that. All right? If they're coming from the Middle East or Africa, they're used to temperatures of 118 to 120 degrees or better. And lastly, they're getting help. They're getting a lot of help along the way. People are feeding them. People are giving them water. People are clothing them. They're getting a considerable amount of support as they work their way towards the southern border, which is why in the last cycle there was only 171 deaths, even though you had damn near 2 million people, I believe, accounted for and unaccounted for coming across the southern border. 171, it's not a big number. I'm sorry. Some people may think that's insensitive, but like I said, the numbers don't lie. The numbers just don't lie. This is propaganda meant to garner sympathy from people who don't know any better, who aren't going to make the connections, and to try to tap into additional funding, which is pretty much always the goal of any government agency. Where's the money? Gary Smith said, Christ was a Jew. How is that anti-Semitic? Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of Christians who think that Yeshua or Jesus was the first Christian, but no, there was no such thing at that time. And Sven said we have Chinese special ops coming in. Yeah. And Dragon says all along the Canadian border are the graves of Americans who desperately tried to get into Canada to pursue the Canadian dream, but did not make it. And Urban says with Candace Owens, it was more than just one comment. Okay, there has been an escalating pattern of mismatched political views at Daily Wire, which is a publisher and not a platform. I see. Yeah, I don't know too much about it. I just thought that was, I had heard that and I threw it out there because it came up. But don't worry about the border. Don't worry about the border. Because dear old, sweet old, lovable old, reliable old, transparent old, trustworthy old Uncle Joe decided he's going to fix the problem now. Yep. He's decided he's going to fix the problem. He's going to buckle down. He's going to buckle down and make a new executive order, or so he claims. New York Post article. Biden actually looking to fix the border at last. Finally. It'll be all right. He's going to fix it. President Joe Biden is talking about maybe finally think about the border, and it only took just over 3. I know. In a Univision interview Tuesday, Biden teased that he's considering. Notice the wording. Notice the wording. Maybe, teased, and considering are your operative terms. Signing an executive order by month's end to drastically tighten up the southern border using authority granted in Section 212F of the Immigration and Nationality Act to ban any migrant who crosses illegally from being able to apply for asylum. But he says he's unsure, quote, whether or not he has that power. Some are suggesting that I should just go ahead and try it, and if I get shut down by the court, I get shut down by the court, he says. However, the language of Section 212F is perfectly clear. It grants the power to suspend the entry of all aliens of any class of aliens whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States. Basically, Section 212F gives you the right to completely seal the border and not let anybody in at all. Some lower court judge might find some excuse to overrule that, but most of the Supreme Court can read, according to the writer of this article. Plus, President Trump used it repeatedly in multiple executive orders. Remember, he signed the executive order to tie-ins of Border Patrol his very first day in office. First official day, that was one of those orders that he signed. Come one, come all. No one will be stopped at the border again. It says the White House has leaked heavily back in February that it was looking at executive action on the border, only to back off when the Democratic left erupted. Instead, Biden decided to pretend he was powerless because Republicans wouldn't pass a bill spelling out new powers. And that is true. He's being a little snarky here, but he's correct. He wanted to send $68 billion to the Ukraine, and he was going to throw $1 billion and change at the border if they signed the bill. And nobody would sign it because they didn't want money being thrown all over the planet. Finally, at least not that time. And there you go. And Scale Diesel says, fix what he started. Yeah, he created the problem. Now he's pretending to fix it. Too little, too late, hopefully. And people, because he's only even hinting at it because he thinks it'll affect voting. If you trust the voting process. Remember, allegedly 81 million votes for this guy. Helder says, of course, he's going to sign the order during election year. If people are dumb enough to fall for this, they deserve another 4 years of him. Not everybody deserves it, but we all have to suffer as a result. Monkey says, if it gets shut down by the court, if it gets shut down, that's a big contradiction when it comes to student loans. Supreme Court told you no student loans forgiveness, yet goes around the Supreme Court's word. Gary Smith said Biden wants to make a statement that he hopes will appeal to citizen voters, while at the same time not actually doing anything to stop the incoming immigrant voters. And then one more here. Dragon says, as usual, Biden is a day late and $1 short. The damage has already been done. Yes, indeed, it has been done. And it's going to take a considerable amount to undo that damage if it can ever be fully restored, unfortunately. If it can ever fully be restored. And of course, Scale here, one more. Scale Diesel said he's hoping to win over more idiots that would actually vote for him. Well, apparently, if you believe the polls, he did pretty damn well the last time. And I can't blame people for being suspicious about that. 81 million votes. 81 million votes. ladies and gentlemen. That's what it's boiled down to. If you believe it. If you can believe it. Which a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people don't trust that. A lot of people think that something fishy happened. And they could be right. Although I have to be careful about agreeing with that because it is ScrewTube after all. And they are monitoring your every word. Urban says it's how advertising works. Instill the fear, then announce the solution. Yep, that's how it works. Also, if we jump to Reuters, we'll see that the same thing is going on in Germany. Germany is pretending to give a damn about borders now, too. Again, this is a Reuters article. Hopefully, it'll roll up here without an interruption. Having issues with the restream recently. So we'll see how this works. And here it comes. Again, Reuters article, German minister to speed up deportations to fight the rising crime. They're in a lot of foundation. I hate makeup on women anyway. I really hate when there's too much. And here it is. What time is it, ladies and gentlemen? It is 2:31, and I've just gotten my notification that I am live. Thank you, ScrewTube, for letting me know 31 minutes after the broadcast started that I am live. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. It's a little late. Actually, 31 minutes and 45 seconds in. 31 minutes and 45 seconds in from going live. Now they want to tell me, and because I subscribe to myself so that I can keep an eye on it. But that means a lot of people will miss half the live broadcast. But anyway, back to the article. Reuters, German minister speeding up deportations because of crime. Germany's government voted on Tuesday to tackle rising crime, in particular a jump in the number of suspects with non-German backgrounds, as it tries to stem the appeal of the far-right Alternative for Germany, or AfD, in the state elections this year. Yeah, you see, it's election time. Let's do something about the migration. Presenting data showing a 5.5 rise in overall crime last year and a 13.5% increase in the number of suspects with foreign backgrounds. The Interior Minister said Germany must improve integration and speed up deportation. You can't force people to integrate unless you deport people who don't. Just saying. Quote, foreign offenders must leave Germany much more quickly. The strict deportation rules we have created must now be enforced, said Minister Nancy Faeser, a social democrat in Chancellor Olaf Scholz's uneasy three-way coalition. How do you be a social democrat? How does that work? Anyone who doesn't stick to the rules must leave, she said, adding she also had zero tolerance for violent crime, which was up 8.6% last year. That's actually a lot when you consider it. Opposition parties and the AfD have called for tougher migrant policies, such as tighter border controls and more deportations. What the AfD has years can no longer be hidden. New crime statistics have triggered a debate on foreigner crime, said Richard Gruppe of the AfD in Bavaria. Most polls put the AfD in second place nationally and on top of 3 eastern states which hold elections in September. Yeah, well, if you trust polls, I don't trust polls or surveys at all. And we've talked about that quite a bit, why that is. So, yeah, now Germany wants to having an election. Now we want to crack down on all these foreigners that we've been allowing to pour into the country for years that refuse to integrate, that are draining the economy, that are being a burden on taxpayers, that are unraveling the structure of our society. But yeah, no worries. We're going to handle it. We're going to get on top of that. Back to the comments really quickly. Scale says he's hoping to win over more idiots that would actually vote for him, talking about Biden there. Urban says it's how advertising works. Oh, I read that. I'm sorry. Let me catch this up. Brian says such as the 3 a.m. mail-in ballots received that were all for Biden. Donna says David keyword pretend. And Rodney said our so-called leaders go to Davos each year and get their marching orders from the WEF. These orders include open borders and the destruction of Western values. And the Nature Nerd says Brazil is also trying to suppress political opponents by grilling Elon Musk. As we catch up, yeah, I fell way behind there. Helter says it's too late for Germany. Not much will change. Millions of them are already in, and they just keep coming. Dragon says it's a little late. Most of them are homegrown and have German citizenship. Yeah. But, you know, it used to be back in the era of jet setting, and you can see it if you watch films from the 50s and 60s or even the 70s, when the jet setting lifestyle was out there and people could travel cheaply and go to Europe and go to other places, and every country that you went into was like going to another world altogether because the culture permeated everything. And now in a lot of these countries, the so-called culture is nothing more than a show for tourists. And the true culture is lost on many of the indigenous people as they get diluted by people from other lands and other cultures who, rather than integrate into the culture that they're entering, want to bring their baggage with them and force change where they are. If it was so great where you were, you should have stayed there, quite frankly. And then Scale says, funny how the Democrats want to let them all in, but don't want them in their backyards. Yeah. What happened to the ones that were sent to the Hamptons? You remember that? Remember when the busload showed up there? They got rid of them quick. I don't think they lasted the day. I think they should all be sent. Stop sending them to Chicago and New York and everywhere. Send them all to D.C. Send them all to the District of Columbia. Start caravanning the buses up there. And I see Dusty has joined us. Who sees Dusty in the background? Jumped up in the chair and is grooming herself. For those of you who can see, again, I know some people are only listening. Dusty the cat, keeping me company. Because why not? Because cats are social animals after all. And even if they don't like you, they still want to hang around. They still want to hang around. Monkey says, ever need stuff passed quick, send it on election year and watch how quick things can get done. Yes. Gary and Scale see her. That's right. Kitty Cam. Hey, Dusty. Get Dusty is ignoring me. It's hard to see her back there. Uh-oh. Dun, 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 dun. Hi, Dusty. She's very distracting. She's very distracting. But no other felines keeping me company in the room right now. But that's okay. That's okay. Speaking of ruining the country, we're going to take a look at a Fox Business article. Fox Business article about California. So we're going to jump to California here really quickly. And see what's going on there. Something you already know about. We talked about it off and on for several months because of the minimum wage laws that have been forced on California. Are causing major a little bit, but here we go. Fox Business article, McDonald's $25 deal goes viral. Users blame California's minimum wage increases. This is your new normal. $25 meal deal. $25 meal deal at McDonald's in California to compensate for the new minimum wage requirements. So here we go. Social media videos about the $25 McDonald's deal recently sparked online debate about California's minimum wage increase. A TikTok user who posts videos under the username @ShannonWhoCares shared the video on March 27th in the drive-thru of the Southern California McDonald's location when she saw a sign for a 40-piece chicken McNugget meal deal, including 2 large fries. The price of the meal was $25.39, including sales tax. It would come to roughly $27. In the video, the social media user lamented that the meal didn't even include a drink. Oh, crap. While the meal is designed to serve 4 people, it demonstrates how prices at the fast food chain have risen over the years. A recent study by Finance Buzz found that McDonald's prices have increased by 100% since 2014. Okay, that meal may be meant for 4 people, but one person's going to eat it. Okay? I can see one person sitting there in their car and eating 40 McNuggets and 2 large fries. Okay? It's kind of like you get the bag of Doritos and it says suggested serving size 7, and you know one person will eat that bag in one sitting watching football. Okay? That's what's going to happen. Rodney says opening a private tab and mirroring the stream shows once again YouTube algorithm is still deleting some of my comments in real time. Really? And Gary Smith said they remember McDonald's used to advertise you could feed your family for $10. And Nature Nerd says the EU really waters down culture in a lot of European countries. Yeah, you can't even recognize a lot of those countries anymore. And Donna doesn't eat clown food. Yeah, you shouldn't be going to regular fast food anyways. It's unhealthy. It's unhealthy for you. I'll close that because I think it's interfering with the stream. It's unhealthy for you. Restaurant food, period. I'm not a fan of going out to restaurants. My wife and I rarely ever go to restaurants. We prefer to eat at home. And Urban says in Vancouver, a hamburger is still just under $3 Canadian. And the Nature Nerd chiming in, they called it higher minimum wage increases all prices. Remember when $25 was a fancy restaurant and not McDonald's? Yeah. And now the fancy restaurant is a hell of a lot more than that. I mean, 25 might not even knock out one meal for a person, and then they still want a tip. And you may not even get the right meal. Oh, man, it's gotten so bad. I mean, what are you going to spend if you went to, like, I don't know, Chili's or Olive Garden now, $50? I have no idea. Maybe somebody here knows better than I do. Or God forbid, Red Lobster. Red Lobster, probably the worst one, with the saltiest food and the most expensive in the chains. And I'm like, what the hell are you people paying for? The food is awful. I never liked Red Lobster. Or one that's really gone up that's kind of surprised me is Golden Corral. Golden Corral is insanely expensive. It doesn't make any sense. My wife and I, out of necessity, in a manner of speaking, oh man, when was this? Like 2 or 3 years ago, went to a Golden Corral, and I hadn't been to one in like 10 years. Okay. Went to a Golden Corral, surprised by how expensive it was. And it was mobbed. It was packed. It was like opening night at a movie theater, with a line going out the door and around the freaking corner, packed. And the food was terrible. It was terrible, flavorless and watery and undercooked. And I'm like, oh, this is awful. Who pays? We paid for this? I will never set foot in a Golden Corral again. Never. But this is This is what's going to go. This is what's going to go on. Wages are going to go up, or restaurants are going to back out. Mod Pizza, for example, announced, I think this morning, that they're closing all of their California locations. Mod Pizza is pulling completely out of California. They're shuttering the doors. I don't know how many Mod Pizzas are in California, but that's significant. That is significant. That they were like, you know what, we can't even afford to deal with it. We're out. See ya. What are you going to do? Helter said, so their wages go up by $15. The cost of the meal goes up by 20. But hey, the progressives got their livable wage, right? Yeah, I guess so. And Scale thinks that it's going to be $10 for the drink now. Oh, man. And Brian says, I bet the lobsters are not even red. I have no idea. Well, I don't eat lobster anyways, but I don't remember. I don't remember. Well, it's supposed to be red after they're boiled. I think that's the idea. Urban says, did Lyft leave that city that forced the minimum wage on them? I forgot which city. I'm not sure. They should though, because they can't afford to. They can't afford to keep that up. They can't afford to keep that up. And Donna said Governor Newsom has a restaurant and does not pay that wage. Well, you know, there's an exemption that he got for him and his buddy who owns Panera, that if you bake and sell bread as loaves, you're exempt from that minimum wage. Is a little known discrepancy in that contract, a loophole, as it were. And I did the story on that, I think, about a month ago, because his friend was under fire because they were like, hey, you and Newsom have known each other since like high school or something. You had a little buddy system thing going on there so that you didn't have to pay the full wage. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And Scale said Little Caesars went way up and it's gotten terrible. Also using cheaper ingredients, never going there again. Yeah, Little Caesars used to be the $3.99 pizza. I don't even know what they're up to now. And it's not hot and ready anymore because they're so busy that people end up waiting in line anyway. At least the ones around here, the ones I've seen. It's like, you know, you shouldn't have 12 people standing in the vestibule there at the counter waiting for their food. And Monkey said, I feel for some of the old restaurants that have been there for decades and have to shut down because of the minimum wage increasing to $25. Yeah. And you're talking about the mom and pop operations, because many of them are hanging by a thread because of the added expenses. If you have a chain, for example, like your McDonald's, and people swipe their credit card, there's a surcharge. But the bigger your operation is, the smaller the surcharge is, even though there shouldn't be a transaction fee because it's completely digital. The credit card companies and the banks charge a surcharge anyways. So you swipe your card, and the bigger your operation, the smaller the charge is, because there's a larger volume of transactions and you get a discount. So if you got a mom and pop operation and they swipe, that percentage can be pretty high, and it can hurt them. It can hurt them to have to swipe cards. And that's why a lot of places, or independently owned gas stations, sometimes you might see a sign where they have the gas prices listed, and they have a lower price for if you pay cash instead of using the card. That's an independently owned gas station, even if it's franchised out. If it's Shell, if it's using Shell gas, and they call themselves a Shell station, but they're actually owned by the person who's running that store, rather than being a company operation, they'll pass that discount on to you because they don't have to pay that surcharge if you pay cash. And it's a shame how that works. Nature Nerd said a bread restaurant discount sounds pretty communist. Yeah. But you know how they have the loaves of bread and the other pastries that they sell at the at the Panera Bread. I don't think that makes Dunkin' Donuts exempt, though, because they don't sell loaves. And they also are curious how many tens of thousands of jobs are lost in California. Who knows? Who knows? And I see WCM is here. Cash is king. Absolutely. As it should be. As it should be. Now, this is something that I thought was interesting. This is a local story. It's a local story, and it's getting big because it's connected to Sylvester Stallone. And I'm going to read it briefly, and then I'm going to tell you some insider information on this. And Monkey said they noticed that too with credit cards and gas stations. And sometimes you see it in mom and pop restaurants. There's a local pizza place around here, family style restaurant pizza place. They just own the one location. It's been there forever. And they do the same thing. If you pay cash, you get like it's like a 3.5%. They'll give you a 3.5% discount, or like 3.5 cents on the dollar discount. And WCM reminds us, don't eat fast food. It's all poison. That's right. Fast food is not good for you. No, it is not. This is an article from the Hollywood Reporter. And I think this is interesting because I have a little bit of insider information on this. And hopefully I can share it without a freaking interruption. Because that frustrates me, because I feel like I'm not giving the best present if it freezes up. You know what I mean? So here we go. Hollywood Reporter SAG-AFTRA says there is no room on any set for disparaging comments in response to Tulsa King allegations. And of course, Tulsa King is a television show done by Sylvester Stallone, which he stars in, that is filmed in Georgia. Okay. Hollywood Jr. So Actors Union SAG-AFTRA weighing in on the allegations that Tulsa King star Sylvester Stallone allegedly mocked the appearance of background actors on the set in Atlanta. When asked about the snowballing controversy, with one Tulsa King background actor speaking out on Wednesday about comments he believes were directed at him, a union spokesperson said in a statement, "There is no room on any set for disparaging comments to background actors." Oh, hold still. Sorry, it's bouncing. And I lost my paragraph just when I was making fun of the guy. Okay. Though we have not been contacted directly about the incident on the set of Tulsa King in Atlanta, SAG-AFTRA is committed to the safety and well-being of cast members on all productions. SAG-AFTRA does represent background actors in some cases, though in Atlanta, the union's TV theatrical agreement do not cover background actors, the spokesperson said. We are here to support with guidance if requested. On Monday, agency Catret Loke Casting confirmed on Facebook that it had chosen to part ways with Tulsa King, as claims circulated online about the treatment of background actors on the set of the Paramount show. In two screenshots circulated by a writer not affiliated with Tulsa King on X on Tuesday, casting director Rose Locke allegedly stated that she quit the show after visiting the set and witnessing a clear toxic environment that they were not comfortable putting themselves or background artists in, but they have not returned any requests for comment. Okay, now here's the thing. I know somebody who is a background actor in the Atlanta area who is working on this show. Okay. They're working as a background actor in this show without naming them, because I don't want to put them on blast and I don't want to get them in trouble or whatever. That was there the day that allegation was made. And that's why I pulled this story up. I went and I looked for it because they sent me a message and they said, "Hey, did you see this?" Because it's bullshit. Nothing happened. I was there. I didn't see or hear anything. And as you can imagine, in that type of an environment, if something is said or done or jumps off, it's going to circulate very quickly. You know, everybody's going to hear about it. Like Tom Cruise has been known to be kind of a prick. And when he says something, everybody knows by the end of the day. All right. Saw and heard nothing. Saw and heard nothing about this. Uh, uh, the allegations. But look how seriously they're pretending to take it. So speculation: A, somebody misunderstood something, or B, somebody is pretending because they think they're going to gain something from it. And you see that, which is why I'm talking about it, in all walks of life. You see it in all walks of life. We're seeing way too much of that in life now, where people are faking things or taking things the wrong way because it draws attention. It draws attention to them. What can I get out of this? It's like that race car driver a few years ago. I think he was mixed, and he claimed there was a noose hanging in his garage. Who remembers this story? Who remembers that story? I can't remember the name of the driver. He's not a very popular or well-known driver, I don't think, but he was like, oh God, there's a noose. And the FBI came out and investigated and everything, and that it's just a common loop for the garage door that's in every garage on the circuit. And they were like, dude, you know what this is. Why the hell are you sitting there pretending like you think it's a noose all of a sudden? For attention, because he had something to gain from it, or he thought he did. And that's what this feels like to me. It's a lie. It's bullshit. Zane says they don't like being fake. They hate being fake. I should hope so. And Nature Nerd said that there's a restaurant by them that has a 5% discount for using cash. Sure. And Nature Nerd says some stores and restaurants have signs where they don't accept bills bigger than 20. Cowards. Bill, how much bigger can you get? Well, the reason that they don't do that, though, is because they'll run out of ones really quick. A lot of times people will buy something small to break a large bill so they can get change, and they don't even really need it. I used to have a lot of that problem when I worked in convenience stores, where people would come up and they want to buy a pack of gum and they get a $50 bill. And it's like, dude, I can't do that. Okay, I don't have the change for it. You know, you give if everybody's got a 10 and they're buying something under $1, how fast do you think you're going to run out of ones? And especially if the manager's not there anymore to access the safe, there's only so much you're going to have access to, and then you're not going to be able to make change at all. Raccoon says, I remember that. It was just a pull rope. Yes. And WCM said, actually know an actor that's not a sold out shell of a person. Yeah. And it's like I said, he's a background actor. If you saw him, you might not know who it was anyways. But he is a professional actor. And he does that kind of stuff, you know, walk on stuff or whatever. And he was like, that's why I brought this up. He mentioned it, and he was like, I don't know if this happened. I don't think this happened. I think the story's made up. I think someone misunderstood something or whatever. Zane says they love Native American culture, but will never lie about being Native American for clout. Scale said Bubba Wallace. Is that the name of the driver? And Scale said he'll take a vanilla cone. Okay. For Biden. Is that ice cream for Biden? I'll take a vanilla cone. I want some ice cream. I like ice cream too. I can't eat it as often as you can in the White House. Must be nice to just get ice cream whenever the hell you want it. But anyways, it just made me think a lot about how people will pretend things, fake things, and get so serious about it and carry it to the extreme, even when they know they're wrong, and still deny it even when they're called out on it, because they think they're going to get something out of it. And it's a shame. And this is your activist lifestyle. You see a lot of this with activists too. They know better. They don't half believe most of what they're saying, I bet, the majority of the time. But they're going to pretend to be offended. They're going to pretend to believe. They're going to pretend that climate change is killing everybody. They're going to pretend that everything has racism. Name it. Because that's how they get paid. Or they think they're going to get paid. And Nature Nerd wants a dairy farm in DC. Yeah, they'll regulate the shit out of it. They won't be able to make any money. Anyways, with that, we are at the top of the hour. So I will go ahead and start signing off. Again, you were listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and that is at Coffee Talk Live or at Prepper University on YouTube, simultaneously broadcasting Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as at Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter, and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. Special thanks to Rodney, who made a donation to the channel today. Very much appreciated, as well as everyone else who was able to join us and enter into the discussion today. So with that, I hope you got something out of it, and we will see you again.